There are moments in history when everything changes. When the path splits between what was and what will be. When ordinary people must make extraordinary choices. This is the story of such a moment. This is the story of the day humanity said no. The celestial archive floated in the void between stars, a structure so massive it had its own gravity. Built from materials harvested from dead suns, its walls gleamed with an inner light that never faded. For 12,000 years, this place had been the seat of galactic power. Here, the ancient races gathered. Here, they made their laws. Here, they decided the fate of younger species. Ambassador Reina Torres stood before the assembly of ancients. She was 42 years old, born on Mars, raised on Europa, trained on Earth. Her dark hair was streaked with premature gray from 8 years of diplomatic service. Her hands were steady, but her heart hammered against her ribs. She had walked into this chamber thinking she understood the game. She was about to learn how wrong she had been. The chamber itself was a work of art that defied human comprehension. The ceiling showed real-time images of 1,000,000 worlds, all turning in perfect synchronization. The floor was transparent, revealing the stars below. Standing here felt like floating in the cosmos itself. It was designed to make visitors feel small. Today, it was working. Supreme Arbiter Folkneth rose from his throne. He was Draxian, one of the first species to achieve faster-than-light travel. His body was composed of interlocking geometric shapes that constantly shifted and recombined. When he moved, reality seemed to bend around him. His race had mastered physics in ways humans were only beginning to understand. They had been exploring the galaxy when Earth was still cooling from its formation. Representative Torres of the human worlds, Folkneth said. His voice bypassed her ears entirely, speaking directly into her mind. We have summoned you to address a matter of grave concern. Your species has violated the accords of peaceful coexistence. Reina felt her stomach drop. The accords were the foundation of galactic law. Breaking them meant sanctions at best. Extinction at worst. Supreme Arbiter, I'm not aware of any violations. Earth has followed every provision of the treaty since we joined the Assembly 68 years ago. Has it? A new voice slithered through the chamber. Counselor Thrace emerged from the shadows. She was Serpentium, her body a mass of writhing tendrils that moved with hypnotic grace. Her species had subjugated 40 systems before the Assembly brought them to heel 3,000 years ago. They understood conquest. They recognized ambition. Tell us about the Frontier Initiative. The name hit Reina like a physical blow. The Frontier Initiative was classified. Level 9 security clearance. Only a handful of people in the entire human government knew about it. How did the Assembly know? I don't know what you're referring to, Reina said carefully. Thrace's tendrils writhed faster. Do not insult this Assembly with lies, human. We know about your 47 hidden colonies. We know about your military research stations. We know about your weapons development programs. You have been building an empire while pretending to seek peace. Reina's mind raced. 47 colonies. That number was accurate. Terrifyingly accurate. Someone had been watching Earth very closely. Someone had penetrated human security at the highest levels. A third figure stepped forward. General Corvin of the Titanid species, 12 feet of living metal and ancient fury. His race had fought in the First Convergence War, 5,000 years ago. They had seen civilizations rise and fall. 73 days ago, human warships engaged and destroyed a Venturi merchant fleet. 22 vessels. 3,000 lives. Your government claims it was self-defense. We have examined the evidence. We have found it lacking. Those weren't merchants, Reina said. Heat crept into her voice despite her training. They were slavers. They attacked a human colony transport. We have recordings of their communications. They were trying to take hostages. Recordings can be falsified, Corvin said. His metal face showed no emotion. Actions speak louder than data. The pattern is clear. Humanity expands. Conflict follows. Others die. You prosper. This is not coincidence. This is strategy. Reyna looked around the vast chamber. Representatives from 300 species filled the ascending tiers. None of them spoke in Earth's defense. None of them even looked sympathetic. She saw calculation in their eyes. She saw fear. They had decided humanity was a threat, and nothing she said would change their minds. What does the assembly want? Reyna asked quietly. Folkneth's geometric form pulsed with light. Compliance. Order. Survival. Humanity will immediately cease all expansion beyond your current territories. Your military fleet will be reduced by 60%. The remaining vessels will operate under assembly oversight. All classified research programs will be terminated and their findings shared with assembly scientists. Peacekeeping forces from loyal species will be stationed on your primary worlds to ensure compliance. The words fell like hammer blows. This wasn't negotiation. This was surrender. This was the end of human independence. And if Earth refuses? Reyna asked, though she already knew the answer. Then the assembly will ensure compliance through other means, Folkneth said. His mental voice was calm, reasonable, final. We have maintained galactic peace for 12 millennia. We have prevented 17 extinction-level wars. We have guided younger species toward prosperity. We will not allow humanity to destabilize the order we have built. Not through ignorance. Not through ambition. Not for any reason. Thrace's tendrils formed patterns in the air. Understand, Representative Torres. We do not make this demand from cruelty. We make it from necessity. Your species is dangerous. You advance too quickly. You fight too well. You refuse to accept limits. In 10,000 years, we have seen your kind before. We have seen what happens when aggressive species are left unchecked. We will not make that mistake again. Reyna stood frozen. Centuries of human dreams hung in the balance. The dream of exploring the stars. The dream of building something new among the cosmic dark. The dream of human children playing on worlds humanity had claimed and tamed and made into home. I need time to consult with my government, Reyna said. This decision is beyond my authority as ambassador. You have 36 hours, Folkneth said. Return here with your answer. Choose wisely, Representative Torres. Choose survival. Reyna turned and walked toward the exit. Her legs felt like lead. Her mind was spinning. Behind her, she heard Corvin speak one final time. One additional matter, Representative. Assembly security forces are currently moving into position around human space. This is purely precautionary. We mean no threat. We simply wish to ensure that lines of communication remain open during this difficult time. Reyna stopped but didn't turn around. Forces already in position. Ships already moving. This had been planned long before she arrived. This had been decided before she ever spoke a word. The assembly had already made their choice. They were just going through the motions of offering humanity a chance to submit peacefully. She continued walking. The massive doors of the chamber sealed behind her with a sound like thunder. In her quarters, Reyna activated the quantum link. It was Earth's most closely guarded secret, a communication system that worked faster than light itself. The assembly didn't know humans had it. The assembly didn't know about a lot of things. Admiral Hiroshi Nakamura appeared on the screen. He was in the command center beneath Tokyo, surrounded by tactical displays and urgent officers. His face was lined with age and stress. He had fought in the colony wars 30 years ago. He knew what war cost. "Ambassador," Nakamura said. "We monitored your meeting. We heard everything." "Then you know what they're demanding," Reina said. "Total submission. The end of human expansion. Occupation of our worlds." "We know," Nakamura said. His voice was granite. "We also know their forces are moving. We're tracking 83 assembly warships. They're not hiding their approach. They want us to see them. They want us to be afraid." Reina sat down heavily. "Hiroshi, we can't win this. The assembly has resources from 300 species. They have technology humans don't even understand. If we fight, we die. If we surrender, we die slowly," Nakamura said. "They'll dismantle everything we've built. They'll scatter our colonies. They'll put governors on our worlds and call it protection. In 50 years, humanity will be a footnote in assembly records. A failed experiment. Another aggressive species that needed to be controlled. Is there a third option?" Reina asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to hear the answer. Nakamura was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Harder. "There might be. But you're not going to like it." The silence stretched between Reina and Nakamura like a chasm. Through the quantum link, she could see the activity behind him intensifying. Officers moved with purpose. Screens flickered with data streams. Something was happening, something big, something that had been planned long before today's confrontation. "Show me," Reina said. Nakamura's expression shifted. For just a moment, he looked older than his 67 years. Then his military training reasserted itself, and his face became unreadable. "What I'm about to share is classified at the highest level. Project Exodus. Only 17 people in human space know the full scope." The screen split. New images appeared beside Nakamura's face. Reina felt her breath catch. Ships. Hundreds of them. But not like any vessels she'd seen before. These were sleek, angular, built with curves that seemed to bend light itself. They hung in space near what looked like an asteroid field, but the asteroids were moving in formation, and she realized with a start that they weren't asteroids at all. "We've been building for 20 years, Nakamura said quietly. "Ever since the Venturi incident at New Harmony. That wasn't the first time the assembly looked the other way when humans were attacked. It was just the first time we couldn't ignore the pattern anymore. The assembly doesn't want humanity to thrive. They want us contained. Controllable. Small." Reina stared at the images. "How many ships?" 412 combat vessels. Another 600 support craft. All equipped with technology the assembly doesn't know we have. Nakamura touched something off-screen. New data cascaded across the display. "We've had some advantages. Humanity developed independently. Our physics took different paths. Our mathematics solved problems the assembly gave up on millennia ago because they'd found easier solutions." "The quantum communicators," Reina whispered. "Just the beginning," Nakamura said. "We've cracked zero-point energy extraction. We've weaponized gravitational fields. We've built engines that don't just go faster than light but that can shift between dimensional membranes. The assembly's sensors can't track our ships when they're in transit. To them, we just vanish." Reina felt dizzy. If we have this capability, why hide it? Why not negotiate from a position of strength? "Because strength invites challenge," a new voice said. A woman stepped into frame beside Nakamura. She was younger, maybe 35, with sharp eyes and oil-stained hands. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Director of Advanced Weapons Research. Reina had met her once at a diplomatic function. She'd seemed quiet, unassuming, forgettable. Looking at her now, Reina understood that had been intentional. The assembly has maintained power for 12,000 years, Tanaka continued. They've done it by ensuring no single species can challenge them. The moment they perceive a threat, they mobilize. They don't negotiate. They don't compromise. They eliminate the threat. If they'd known what we were building, they would have struck immediately. They would have glassed Earth and every human colony and called it preventative peacekeeping. So we pretended to be weak, Reina said slowly. Understanding was dawning, cold and uncomfortable. All those diplomatic sessions where I accepted their condescension. All those times I smiled and nodded while they treated humanity like children. That was theater. Necessary theater, Nakamura said. And you played your part perfectly. The assembly never suspected. They thought we were just another young species, eager to please, grateful to be included. They were so confident in their superiority they never looked deeper. Reina thought about the last 8 years. The endless meetings. The subtle insults. The way assembly representatives spoke over her, around her, through her like she wasn't there. She'd thought she was building relationships, creating goodwill, laying groundwork for future cooperation. Instead, she'd been a distraction. A magician's assistant drawing eyes away from the real trick. You used me, she said. There was no anger in her voice. Just statement of fact. We used everyone, Tanaka said. Every diplomat, every public-facing official, every carefully leaked document about our supposed weakness. The assembly sees what they expect to see. They expected humanity to be primitive, aggressive, but ultimately manageable. So that's what we showed them. Nakamura leaned forward. But now they've forced the issue. They're demanding submission. They've positioned their forces for occupation. We're out of time for deception. We have to make a choice. Surrender or fight. If we fight, what are our chances? Reina asked. The question hung in the air. No one answered immediately. Finally, Tanaka spoke. Honestly? Unknown. Our simulations show we can hurt them badly. We have surprise. We have technology they can't counter easily. But they have numbers, experience, resources from 300 worlds. In a long war, attrition favors them. Unless we don't fight a long war, Nakamura said. We've run thousands of scenarios. There's one that gives us a real chance. It's risky. It's brutal. But it might work. The screen changed again. Now it showed a three-dimensional map of local space. Assembly forces appeared as red markers, converging on human territories. Human forces showed as blue markers, concentrated in ways that suddenly made strategic sense. They're expecting us to defend our colonies, Nakamura explained. They're expecting us to scatter our forces to protect our populations. That's what every species does. It's instinctive. Protect what you love. But we're not going to do that, Reina said, seeing the pattern. No, Nakamura confirmed. We're going to attack. Specifically, we're going to attack them here. He highlighted a location on the map. The Celestial Archive. The seat of assembly power. Reina felt her blood turn cold. That's insane. The archive is the most heavily defended location in the galaxy. It's surrounded by defense platforms, shield arrays, permanent military stations. It's suicide. It would be, Tanaka said, if we attacked conventionally. But we're not going to do that either. We're going to use the archive's own defenses against it. New data appeared. Schematics of the archive structure, power systems, defensive networks. Reina recognized some of it from her time stationed there, but much of this was information she'd never seen. Information that should have been impossible to obtain. For the last 15 years, Tanaka said, we've had people inside the archive. Not spies exactly. More like sleeper agents. Maintenance workers. Low-level administrators. People the assembly barely notices because they're just doing simple jobs. Those people have been making very small, very careful modifications to the archive systems. What kind of modifications? Reyna asked, though part of her didn't want to know. The kind that will let us shut down their shields for exactly 47 seconds, Tanaka said. That's our window. 47 seconds when the most important structure in the galaxy will be completely vulnerable. And then what? Reyna's voice was barely a whisper. Nakamura met her eyes. Then we destroy it. We take out the assembly's leadership, their command structure, their central coordination. We cut off the head. In the chaos that follows, we make our terms clear. Leave humanity alone, or we'll keep cutting. We'll hit their shipyards, their research stations, their industrial centers. We'll fight a war of mobility and precision that they're not equipped to counter. They'll call us terrorists, Reyna said. They already call us dangerous, Nakamura replied. At least this way, they'll be right. Reyna stood up and paced the small room. Everything she'd believed about her role, her purpose, her contribution to humanity's future was ash in her mouth. But beneath the shock, beneath the sense of betrayal, something else stirred. Something harder. She thought about the way Folkneth had spoken to her. The casual assumption that humanity would comply. The certainty that Earth would bow because the alternative was unthinkable. The sheer arrogance of believing that 12,000 years of dominance meant the next 12,000 were guaranteed. She thought about human children growing up under assembly oversight. Human scientists having their work monitored and controlled. Human ships flying only where the assembly permitted. Human dreams confined to the small box the assembly had decided was appropriate. When? She asked. The operation launches in 32 hours, Nakamura said. 4 hours before your deadline. The assembly will be gathered, waiting for your answer. They'll be confident. Complacent. That's when we strike. You need me to go back, Reyna realized. You need me in that chamber when it happens. No, Nakamura said firmly. You've done enough. You can evacuate with the other non-essential personnel. No one would blame you. Reyna looked at the screen. At the ships humanity had built in secret. At the tactical plans that could save her species or doom it. At the faces of people who had carried this weight while she'd played diplomat. I'll go back, she said. I'll face them. If this is the moment that defines humanity's future, should be there. We all should face what comes next. Nakamura nodded slowly. Then I suppose we're committed. Ambassador Reyna Torres, by authority of the United Earth Council, I'm officially informing you of Project Exodus. In 32 hours, humanity goes to war. The 32 hours passed like a lifetime compressed into moments. Reyna spent them in her quarters aboard the transport ship that would take her back to the Celestial Archive. She didn't sleep. She couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the faces of people who would die because of the choice humanity was making. Assembly members who had families, dreams, lives that mattered to someone. Human soldiers who would never come home. Civilians on both sides caught in the crossfire of decisions made by people like her. War was never clean. War was never just. But sometimes, war was the only path left when all others had been closed. Through her window, she watched the stars. Somewhere out there, human fleets were moving into position. Engineers were making final checks on weapons systems. Soldiers were saying goodbye to loved ones, knowing they might not return. The whole machinery of war was grinding into motion, and at the center of it all was a simple truth that every human understood but few spoke aloud. Freedom is not given. It is taken. It is earned with sacrifice and blood and the willingness to stand alone against impossible odds. Her communicator chimed softly. A message from Earth, from her younger brother Diego. He was a teacher in Buenos Aires, far from the military, far from politics. He taught music to children. He helped them find beauty in a sometimes ugly universe. His message was simple. Reina, I don't know what's happening. The news is strange. People are scared. But I know you. I know you're trying to do the right thing. Whatever that is, wherever you are, I trust you. We all trust you. Make us proud. She played it 3 times, then deleted it. Security protocol. But the words stayed with her. The transport docked at the archive exactly on schedule. Reina walked through corridors that had become familiar over 8 years. She passed other species going about their business, unaware that in a few hours, everything would change. A Draxian administrator nodded politely. A Venturi merchant moved aside to let her pass. A group of young Serpentium were discussing philosophy, their tendrils weaving patterns of argument and counterargument. They were people. That was the thing the assembly leadership seemed to forget. Not statistics, not political pawns, but individuals with hopes and fears and the right to exist. The same right humanity was fighting for. The assembly chamber was already filling when she arrived. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered in their assigned places. The air hummed with anticipation. They expected capitulation. They expected Earth to bend its knee. They had no idea what was coming. Supreme Arbiter Folkneth materialized at the center of the chamber. His geometric form pulsed with satisfaction. Representative Torres. You have returned. Does Earth have an answer for the assembly? Reina walked to the center of the vast floor. Her footsteps echoed. She wore the same simple uniform she'd worn 2 days ago. No weapons. No armor. Just a woman standing before the assembled power of 300 worlds. Earth has an answer, she said clearly. Her voice carried through the chamber, amplified by technology she still didn't fully understand. But first, I have something to say. Not as an ambassador. As a human being. Murmurs rippled through the gathered representatives. This wasn't protocol. This wasn't how these proceedings worked. For 8 years, I have stood in this chamber and listened, Reina continued. I have heard the assembly speak of peace, of order, of the great civilization you have built. And it is great. 12,000 years of stability. Countless species working together. The dream of unity made real. But I have also seen what that peace costs. I have watched the assembly crush any species that shows too much ambition. I have seen worlds forced to abandon their dreams because those dreams made older races uncomfortable. I have felt the weight of condescension from beings who believe age equals wisdom and power equals right. This is inappropriate, Counselor Thrace hissed. Her tendrils writhed with agitation. You are here to deliver your government's response, not to lecture the assembly. Then here is our response, Reina said. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. It looked like nothing, just a piece of metal and crystal. But when she activated it, holographic displays erupted throughout the chamber. Images of human ships. Specifications of human weapons. Tactical deployments that showed the assembly exactly what humanity had been building while pretending to be weak. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted in 100 languages. Alarms began to sound. Security forces moved toward Reina, but she stood her ground. Earth's answer is no, she said, and her voice cut through the noise like a blade. We will not surrender. We will not submit. We will not accept your terms. Humanity chooses to stand free, whatever the cost. Folknetha's form blazed with light. Then you choose destruction. You foolish, arrogant child. You have no comprehension of what you have done. The assembly will crush your species. We will scatter your colonies across the void. We will ensure that humanity is remembered only as a cautionary tale about the price of defiance. Maybe, Reyna said quietly. Or maybe you'll discover that humanity is harder to crush than you think. Maybe you'll learn that oppression always creates resistance. Maybe you'll realize that your 12,000 years of peace was built on the backs of species who had no choice but to comply. Maybe this is the moment your empire begins to crack. General Corvin stepped forward, his metal body ringing with each movement. Seize her. Place her in confinement. Then dispatch the primary fleet to Earth. Show these humans the price of their arrogance. Security forces surrounded Reyna. She didn't resist. She looked up at the assembled representatives, at the faces of the powerful and ancient, and she smiled. You should know, she said, that while we've been talking, human forces have already engaged your fleets at 7 locations. We're not waiting for you to attack us. We're bringing the fight to you. The chamber's main display activated, showing real-time tactical feeds. Assembly commanders shouted in disbelief as they watched human ships appear from nowhere, strike with devastating precision, and vanish before counterfire could reach them. Weapons that bent space itself tore through shields that had protected assembly forces for millennia. Gravitational lances punched through hull armor like it was paper. Impossible, someone whispered. Humans don't have this technology, another voice said. We do now, Reyna said. We've been learning. Building. Preparing. While you were congratulating yourselves on keeping us contained, we were becoming something you never expected. We were becoming your equal. Folkneth turned his full attention on her, and for the first time, she saw something other than arrogance in his alien features. She saw fear. What have you done? He asked. Before she could answer, the lights went out. For 3 seconds, the celestial archive hung in perfect darkness. 3 seconds of silence in a structure that had stood for 12,000 years. 3 seconds where the impossible became real. Then emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in blood-red illumination. And on every screen, every display, every holographic projection, the same message appeared in every known language. This is Admiral Hiroshi Nakamura of the United Earth Defense Forces. 43 seconds ago, we successfully penetrated the archive's defensive perimeter. Your shields are down. Your weapons are offline. Your command structure is vulnerable. We could destroy this station and everyone on it. We choose not to. This is not a war of extermination. This is a war of liberation. Stand down your forces. Withdraw from human space. Recognize Earth's sovereignty. Do this, and we will withdraw peacefully. Refuse, and we will dismantle your empire piece by piece until you have no choice but to listen. The chamber descended into pandemonium. Representatives screamed. Security forces ran in every direction. Counselors shouted contradictory orders. The machine of assembly power, so confident in its invincibility, was tearing itself apart in panic. Reyna stood at the center of it all, calm in the chaos. She thought about her brother Diego, teaching children to make music. She thought about all the humans living ordinary lives, unaware that their future had just been bought with extraordinary courage. She thought about the soldiers fighting and dying in the darkness between stars, paying the price that freedom always demands. I'm sorry, she whispered, though no one could hear her over the noise. Sorry to the assembly members who had been kind to her. Sorry to the soldiers on both sides. Sorry that the universe was such that violence sometimes became the only language the powerful understood. But she wasn't sorry for the choice. She wasn't sorry for standing. General Corvin appeared before her, his metal face twisted with something that might have been rage or might have been respect. You've started a war that will consume millions. You started it, Reyna replied, the moment you decided humanity didn't deserve to be free. We're just finishing it. The lights came back on. Full power, full systems, everything restored. Nakamura had made his point. The archive could have been destroyed. Everyone in this chamber could have died. But humanity had chosen mercy where the assembly had chosen domination. That single choice would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. Supreme Arbiter Folkneth looked at Reyna with eyes that had seen empires rise and fall. "What happens now?" he asked quietly. Reyna took a deep breath. Now we talk. As equals. You sit at a table with humanity, and we negotiate a real peace. Not the peace of submission, but the peace of mutual respect. Or we keep fighting until one of us can't anymore. Your choice. The ancient being was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, his geometric form shifted into what might have been a nod. "Very well, Representative Torres. Humanity has earned the right to be heard. Let us talk." And in that moment, standing in the heart of an empire that had ruled for 12 millennia, Reyna Torres smiled. Because she knew that whatever came next, whatever price still had to be paid, humanity would pay it standing tall. Free.